Hello, you guys. Welcome and welcome back to the Cake Radio Show. It's the CakeDive, and I hope you guys are doing well because today we need to run it back and talk about the BET Awards that just happened for 2024 that happened last Sunday. And now I know you guys are thinking, Cake, you dropping this like a week late, almost damn near a week late. What happened? Y'all, last week I went on vacation, and the day before I was supposed to fly out, I had I had the busiest day in my life. Had I had my like self-care things. I had like a celebration dinner that I had near the end of the day. And I was like, you know what? Like, before all that, let me be productive and record 3 Cake Radio episodes back to back. I was going to drop them Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I was gonna get a bag, y'all was gonna get some episodes that were gonna be cute. Everything was set, and I recorded 3 episodes. I recorded the Camila Cabello episode, and that is the only episode of the 3 that went up. That went on Thursday, last Thursday. Friday, I was going to do an episode talking about my thoughts on reality TV and how I feel like it's been a mess, and there's like an issue, like there's like two states of reality TV right now, and it's not really giving either way. And it was also like talking about the drama with like Kenya Moore from The Real Housewives of Atlanta and how she got fired. And then Saturday was going to be the episode of me talking about the BET Awards. It was not going to recap 2024's BET Awards because that would have happened on Sunday, but it would have given my thoughts on like how I feel the BET Awards is kind of a mess right now. And I recorded those, edited those, uploaded those, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Sounds good. We're ready to go. By the time I land down and where I'm vacationing at, and I'm arriving at where I'm staying, and I am editing a video. And I also, like, on top of those 3 episodes I also recorded two like voice active like recordings I did for my other channel, the CakeDive channel. Be sure to follow that if you like comedy sketches and more. And I was editing those, and I realized while I was editing those on my phone that the audio was like really, really quiet. Like, even with like raising and boosting the audio, it was still severely quiet. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. This is very strange. And I'm like, if this is what the audio sounds like in these recordings, I need to go back and check what the Cake Radio episodes sound like. And by the time I was recording, the Camila Cabello episode that went up had already went up. So I went to that episode and I realized that it was extraordinarily quiet, and I felt so bad because of the fact that I know the sound has been like an issue with me, with this channel, with the podcast for a minute. And I was hoping that I was having that fixed, but I didn't realize that Audacity, which is what I use to record these episodes, resets my settings when it does updates. And it did an update, reset my, setup settings, and I didn't realize it until, the first episode went up. And I went through the comments, did a little quick apology, and then I pulled the other 2 episodes because I'm like, I can't have 2 quiet ass episodes drop back to back on top of this already quiet episode. Like, this is not gonna work. And I was away from my sound equipment during the weekend, so I was like, I couldn't go back and re-record these, so it's better to just at least pull the 2 episodes that have not gone up, instead of just having those up and having to hear people, having to have people be like, oh, like, I love the episodes, but like, turn the sound up, like, what's going on with the sound again, like, this is an issue. So long story short, sorry that the sound was quiet. That was an Audacity thing. I'm sorry I didn't run through and check that before those episodes went up. But I'm glad you guys still enjoyed the Camila Cabello episode. But that's not the point. The point is we got to do this BET Awards, episode, because now, BET Awards has happened. I saw it live with my family because we was all watching TV and bored, and we was like, what do we watch? We watched the BET Awards, I guess. And, now I can give you my thoughts on, just the BET Awards in general, as well as this year's show. So let me give you my thoughts on this year's show. I thought this year's show was it wasn't bad, but it was very okay. Overall, I think the performances were really good. Going through my thoughts on the performances, who all performed. I'm blanking on who all performed. So Megan Thee Stallion ate her performance down. I really enjoyed it. It felt a little bit toned down compared to what we got from her, Hot Girl Summer Tour, which I actually went and attended. And I think part of that is because, you're doing it for TV. And I feel like some of the biggest issues with that was that a lot of the songs that she was performing, I feel like you can't perform for like an award show audience. Like Hiss is not a song that Hiss was an extraordinary opener and she ate that up. But that song is very raw and very like explicit, and I feel like you can't go as hard as you can with that performance if you're doing it for like a platform that has a lot of censors and a lot of stuff involved. So, but all in all, like, she still ate that performance down. Then you have Victoria Monet. Victoria Monet is a performer. She really is up next. I am really excited that people are really starting to tap into her right now since Derek War 2 came out. Her performance was iconic. Like, I feel like that is... People have talked about, getting who's the next pop star, who's the next, who's the next, like, R&B star and stuff like that. And Victoria Monet has definitely risen above the grain. And it's shown that she wants this bad. She wants to be the next, she wants to be the next. And, her performance was incredible. She gave all the things. Kate Renata popped up, and the girls wasn't for some. But what bugged me the most about the performance was that people were not in the crowd were not gagging as much as I feel like they should have. Like they were giving y'all the thing. Like y'all be talking about like, oh, like we don't have performers. Like what happened to like all these like iconic set pieces and the dancing and like the costume changes and all this stuff. And Victoria gave y'all all the things, and the people in the crowd were not gagging. However, right after, we have Sexy Red perform, and she's like, I love you, baby, or whatever that song go like, and everybody was doing like that. She got a standing ovation. What in the world? And that's not a dig at Sexy Red at all, because I feel like, like Sexy Red does not make horrible music, but she is kind of a questionable. She is not even kind of. She is a questionable person because she has been, grifting with like conservatives and Trump people. And she also has been saying, like, the F slur on social media, even though that's a straight cis woman from the hood. Like, I feel like there's a lot of, like, it's odd that we are giving her all of the things and are just like, yep, this is it. We need to rock with this. We need to support this. If y'all don't support this, y'all anti-black, da-da-da-da-da. But, like, y'all aren't going as hard with like the questionable things that she's doing, because she doesn't need to do that. Like the girls would love Sexy Red a lot more if she was just like, and I'm trying to be careful about this because like I know that a lot of times when people criticize Sexy Red, it does teeter into anti-black territory, and that is not my intention with the conversation. But I feel like with Sexy Red, like I feel like the critiques wouldn't be there if she was just like, if she wasn't grifting, if she wasn't being weird. Like, if she was just, like, someone who was cool, like a girl's girl who just so happened to be from the hood, like, people would respect the come up a lot more. People would respect the music a lot more. Because even though the music is just, like, fairly surface level, the music is surface level. Like, she is making music on par with, like, what Ice Spice and Lotto and all them girls. No shade to any of them. But... And because she's a darker skinned woman, that's why the anti-black conversations pop up. Because for some reason, people don't think that, a girl who looks like Sexy Red can really be in this space or can really, do the things that she be doing and make it be okay. But that being said, she should not be grifting and being weird on the internet. But that's just me. The performance was alright, but I don't think it deserved a standing ovation. She wasn't really doing all that much. But, we be rewarding questionable things and punishing people for less. Then you had Lotto and Ice Spice. Lotto's performance was kind of rough in my opinion. I don't know what that wig she had on, that Miss Frizzle wig she had on was not cute. That looked crazy. I feel like the song choices that she had were very... like, I'm assuming I guess she was promoting her, her upcoming album, Sugar Honey Iced Tea. But... some of the songs was kind of like I feel like BET Awards, you kind of need, she does better with her hype songs. Like, I feel like she should have done Big Mama because that just dropped, and then I feel like she should have done like Sunday. She did Sunday Service, which is good, and I feel like she should have done another one of her like older, like heat like pop song, not pop songs, but like get the crowd going like hype songs. Because I, or even one of her most like Put It on the Floor or something like that. Like I feel like that would have been a better choice than that whatever opening song she had. Um, and also I feel like it also would have been cute if she brought up like Megan for like she should have like I feel like she should have got Megan and like Flo Milli to pop out for like a Sunday Service remix performance because I feel like that would have been cute. Plus we already had Megan come out for her opening performance and Glorilla's performance that happened later in the show. But can't ask for everything. Then you have Ice Spice, and personally I feel like I know a lot of people like the performance, but I feel like the munches be getting at me because I be critiquing Ice Spice. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep beating this horse crazy, but I feel like the performance regressed a little bit. Like it was a step back. Now I feel like, and if you go back to some of my previous episodes, I did actually give Ice Spice props for her Coachella performance. I feel like she had stage presence. She had a nice stage. She gave the girls everything that she needed to. And I get that this was like a simpler performance for BET. Like you obviously could not have that $1 million set or whatever on stage for BET. But I feel like her stage presence was a little bit off. And it wasn't like it was a step in the wrong direction in the sense that like she didn't really have a stage presence. And again, it's also like the songs. Like I wasn't feeling the songs, but as she was performing, like Fat Butt is a very. I don't like the song. I listened to the song. I've listened to all the songs that she did singles for this new album, this Y2K album, and they haven't really been hitting. Now she did drop a new snippet today at the time of recording, and it is kind of cute. It goes back to form, and I feel like again, like I've talked about this before, but I feel like she needs to stop trying to go for this harder rap sound because it does not fit her or like what her audience is looking for at first. She needs to go back to that soft music, and that's not even like me trying to be crazy or nothing or extra like that, but it's legitimately what people listen to Ice Spice for. So that's just like I'm looking at what the audience has been saying. Let me ask the audience. I mean, but that's my thoughts on that. And then you have like skipping through some of the other performances, like you have who else? You have the Usher. You obviously have the Usher performance, and the Usher performance it was cute. I feel like the girls have been critiquing the performance because, like, oh, like it's mostly women. Like you had Childish Gambino up on there, but the rest part is mostly women. But the women killed it. The women ate down. Like Chloe was, like she did her shit for that performance. Like oh my god, like that was great. She picked the right song for that. Tiana Taylor and Victoria Monet did a good performance with theirs. Like they did really good with like recreating the like Beyonce-esque performance that they did for that song. And I feel like the only people who didn't really do that well is like Childish Gambino because like he just kind of sat there and sang. Like I think that's kind of an issue like for male stars, male artists, and like female artists. Like female artists have to go harder and do more, whereas male pop stars and male rappers and all them like just kind of get to look crazy and they get to kind of stand there and do nothing. Like they don't really need to have a stage presence because they're a man, and I think that's an issue that we've all talked about before. But that him and like Summer Walker were kind of the rougher performances because like Summer's mic was just not on. Like she was singing, but her mic wasn't really that on. Now Keke Palmer, I just remember Keke Palmer had a great performance at her Usher show. Like she was performing, baby. Like everybody was like, I think she got like I'm hoping that now Kiki's last like album or whatever, I think it's called Big Boss. It was a cute album. I listened to it a couple of times. It was really cute. But I'm hoping that she can get like some like boom pop Usher music going, like some boom pop Usher music. Cause like if she gets like she kind of got a future on lock when she performed that Usher performance. Cause baby, she was doing the thing. Like that is, I think, cause it's for me it's apparent that she wants to be a force in music. Cause she had like that weird like girl group single that came out recently too, and she been doing music consistently for a while. But like, I think she has a calling in like boom pop performance type stuff like that. with that Usher performance, baby, I think she got it there. Um, and I think that's it in terms of performances that I really wanted to talk about in terms of the major ones. Um, people also talked about the fact that Normani dropped out, and people were being weird about the her dropping out. Like, people were like, oh, like, she should have put a little cast on or did something, or just kind of like performed or stood there. And I feel like that. Oh, Tyler! I just remember Tyler's performance was also cute too. Like, I completely forgot about that. But in that I was reminded by this because people were comparing her to Tyler. Like, oh, Tyler had that back injury or whatever, and she was performing. And then not too long later, Tyler talked about how her injury has worsened because she's been performing and she has to like cancel some more performances and stuff like that. And I feel like we need to have a conversation about how, like, you know, whether you like Normani's music or not, like, I feel like there is a conversation of like anti-blackness that occurs not just with her, but for a lot of these black pop and R&B girlies, especially the darker skinned ones, who in which like they don't get the chance to like have any grace. And like, it's the fact that Normani had an injury. She, apologized for having to leave and drop out of the performance, and how she felt really bad because she wanted to give the fans a performance, and she posted pictures of her injury, and people just did not care at all. They're just like, oh, like, you should have powered through the pain. Like, we've lost people. We've lost Michael Jackson and other pop stars and other performers because of the fact that they've had to work through the pain. And Tyler, bringing Tyler up, because people love to compare Normani to Tyler for some reason. People love to compare all these pop stars to Tyler, which is crazy, but that's another conversation. I feel like, again, like, Tyler worked through the pain and she's paying the price, because now she, like, the injury that she has, gained and has not discussed publicly too often has worsened. So y'all don't really know what y'all really want. Like, y'all want these people to die for us, for our enjoyment, for the consumption of media, and we don't have to do that. That's not necessary. Y'all can wait. Y'all are too impatient for this. But and when I mean y'all, it's not my audience, because my audience don't really be doing none of that. Love my Cake Radio audience down, but like, y'all as in the general public, the BET people, the people who've been critiquing these girls, y'all need to cut that out. Then we got to talk about the awards. Tyler swept, Victoria Monet swept, and then obviously Usher swept and won like Lifetime Achievement Award and a few other awards too. His his speech got cut out and censored heavily during live broadcast, and it apparently was of an error, and that led to a lot of people speculating things. But I'm just like, it's weird that they had censored him. Girl, not they popping fireworks again. I don't know if y'all heard that pick up, but it's 4:25 at Central Standard Time at the time of recording this audio, and it's bright early outside. It's bright outside. Why is people popping fireworks? There's this sidestep. I feel like people who got fired, like, people are very strange when it comes to fire. Like, for me, like, I feel like July 4th, you need to be popping all your fireworks. Like, by 11:59 p.m., July 4th. If you ain't got your fireworks popped, that's on you. You need to keep that till next year, or you need to keep that till whatever next celebration you got going on. Because the girls be popping fireworks till the end of early September, and it's kind of crazy. Like, sometimes y'all don't need to have all them fireworks if y'all know that y'all not gonna pop all of them, because like, y'all ain't got no reason to be popping it. Like, I guess I can give you some leniency since it's still the weekend, but like, y'all ain't got money like that for real. Also, we have to be like, so why y'all got all these fireworks if y'all like this is kind of crazy for me to say, but like, we need to be a little bit more responsible, because like, you can't be popping fireworks all the time. Like, I'll give you some grace because it's still like July 4th weekend, but like, y'all need to get less fireworks, because y'all can't be doing this for the rest of the month, for the next couple of months. Like, this is kind of crazy, don't y'all think? But back to what I was talking about with the BT Awards. Childish Gambino also did some presentation, and he was talking about how he don't have a lot of BET awards. He seemed to be no, like I like Childish Gambino, but I think he remembered that black people existed, so he needs to, and he's trying to like get back in the good graces with girls after Swarm had all that discourse to it. So plus he got his new album coming out, so he's trying to get the girls on board. Um, so there's that. I mean, he if he really wanted BET awards like that, he should. I don't know if he's been like he making it sound like, I feel like he has not been submitting for BET awards for consideration, because I feel like if he was, he probably would be getting some. And I also feel like he really hasn't been paying, like he really hasn't been paying the black community that much like attention like that for real. So I feel like him coming back and being like, oh, like I don't have that many, but I have more Grammys than so and so. It's like, all right. Do you want a cookie, or like I get the vision. Like it's not a fair thing to bring up, but like, do you want a cookie? And then we got to bring up the like Taraji P Henson of it all in terms of presentations and stuff too. You had, her. I'm going to talk about her overall, and then like the Keith Lee situation. I'm going to also talk about the voting stuff that happened too. So overall, she wasn't a horrible performer. I know a lot of people gave her a lot of critiques about like the performances and stuff that she did, like being cringy. But I feel like overall, a lot of these award shows in general are cringy because they're very clearly trying to make moments happen rather than like being the moment, like that's like a lot of the presenters and stuff were making a lot of like, they're doing like black job jokes. They did Not Like Us opener. They had, giving people their flowers and stuff like that. And like some of the stuff was cute, like the giving the flowers stuff, but like it cut the other stuff, like the black jobs thing and the Not Like Us thing came off very cringy, because it's like, oh, like she's like Taraji's doing Not Like Us, but she did a spin on it, which she's like, in which she's like, oh, like this is for us, and it's like that completely goes and defeats the point of what the song is about. And I get where she was coming from, but like the whole like, oh, like this is, oh, like there's no fighting, no like beef stuff happening here, didn't really work when you have Megan Thee Stallion performing Kiss, which is a diss track against multiple people that opened the show, first of all, before Taraji even came out and said all that stuff. And then you had Ice Spice doing that thank you to fart song. Like it don't work when the girls are, doing songs that are sending things. And then Nicki Minaj getting awards, like, and she been sending beef to people. So it's like it don't really work here. But whatever floats you about Taraji. And then you had the flower situation with Keith Lee. I think like a lot of people gave too much. I feel like people gave that too much conversation. I feel like conversation is long overdone, so I'm glad that I'm putting this episode late, because that means I get to wrap up the conversation for y'all, because like we should have been wrapped up that conversation the night that it happened. We should have wrapped up the conversation, because I feel like at the end of the day, either Keith Lee moved his seat, even though he said he did not move his seat, or someone at BET moved his seat and didn't inform, like last minute, and did not inform Taraji, and that's what led to the accident happening. Like it's very clear that Taraji was like, and I feel like Taraji also was a little bit off too, because she was mispronouncing Halle's name, even though they just did a movie together, The Color Purple, and there's that whole situation that happened with that movie. And then there was the Keith Lee situation. So I feel like everybody from BET to Taraji to Keith Lee had some blame, especially with how Keith Lee did the video and stuff like that. But I feel like this wasn't that serious of a situation for people to like shade room this thing and like pull this out into like a week-long conversation. Like I don't think it was really that serious at the end of the day, because Taraji apologized. Keith Lee, he did do the video, but he did clarify the video and kind of had some sort of apology to Taraji. Like I feel like they did their best on their own to wrap this up. BET was the only one who has not said anything about it, so there's kind of like that weird thing that happens. But like at the end of the day, this was not a serious thing. Then we talk about the voting, because it seems like the third, days before the BET Awards happened, the first presidential debate happened, and Biden very clearly showed his age. Both of the presidential candidates looked like they were 7 days from passing away, and it's kind of like, all right, like this is just not good. And Biden showed his age. and people were criticizing his performance in the debate. And because of that, him and his team started coordinating and doing things to court the voters, since he wasn't able to court the voters during debate. And one of the things that they did was do a big voting push at the BET Awards. And this really irked me, because they did a lot of things. Like, they had Taraji do a very grandiose speech talking about how people need to get up and register to vote, how, you know, they need to vote because we can't have, like, look up Project 2025, like, don't let that happen or go into effect. There was the video with, you know, that they recorded with Kamala Harris doing a call, and Kamala Harris is saying that she's up in the streets. She is just out here in them streets. And, you know, there was a consistent push throughout the show of, like, pressing people to vote. And that really bothered me because of the recurrent one. This presidential election reminds me a lot of 2016, in which there is just a lack of sincerity from the Democratic Party. And because they are not mobilizing and because they're not doing the things that they need to do to really mobilize people to vote for their candidate as they need to be, in spite of the worst alternative, from the Republican Party. They are just trying to really hinge on Black voters to mobilize and vote and be like their saving grace. And they don't realize that Black people are tired. The voters that they're trying to court, the Black voters that they're trying to court, are exhausted. They're tired of having to vote or die. They're tired of having to be the last people to. They hate having to be the ones that are courted in, like, the cringiest ways without actual policy being put in place to actually benefit Black people. So, and for me, like, I know that because I feel like that. Like, as someone who does vote, like, Democrat openly, you know, I'm exhausted of how, you know, the Biden administration very clearly is kind of repeating a lot of the mistakes that Hillary's team did in 2016, in which they're getting a lot of celebrities to try to court Black voters, and they're pressing people to mobilize and vote because they're like, oh, like, you don't want if you don't vote, like, the Republican Party is going to win and they're going to take your rights away, da 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 da. But our rights have already been taken away already, even through this administration. And there has not been any policies or any new policies that have been introduced in this new campaign to really mobilize Black voters to really care. And it's like, oh, you just kind of pick your poison. Like, you got to pick which one's going to kill you slower. Is it going to be Biden or is it going to be Trump? And they're just repeating the same mistakes, because why are we having Kamala pop up on the show, you know, pressing people to vote in cringy ways when there's no new policy to really motivate people to, like, put a vote in for the way that they want us to put the vote in. But that's another conversation, you know, like, it bothered me that this was like a third of the show. Like, a good portion of the show was just, like, pretty much political pandering, like, pressing people to vote and register to vote. And I'm not knocking people. Like, I think people should, you know, should go and vote. People should register and vote. People should look at the candidates and vote for, you know, the better choice. But that camp needs to do a lot better if they do not want Trump to win, because what they've been doing for the past 2 weeks or so have not been working. They need to go back to the drawing board and stop being lazy and stop trying to avoid doing policies and stuff that will actually matter and actually motivate people to vote the way that they want them to. They need to just go ahead and do it. And then, you know, that leaves the conversation of, like, oh, like, what are my general thoughts? Like, again, the show was fine, but there's a lot of issues to it. And I feel like one of the bigger issues that I also noticed was that, like, the show was very long. The show felt very long, and there was a lot of, what's the word? It felt drawn on. And part of me was like, oh, like, they're just drawing the show on because of the fact that they had, what's her face, Lauryn Hill perform at the end, and we all know that she'd be late, and don't be showing up to performances. So I think they just gave her time, but like they gave out a lot of awards, and it was for a big variety of things. And I feel like the biggest issue with the BET Awards is that they're because black people are not a monolith, and because black artists, black, actors and directors and all that type of stuff do so many different things within our industry, especially in the music industry. There's like black artists do so many different genres. And you saw that with this show. Like, they had country performers, they had R&B performers, they had, pop stars, rap stars, all that type of stuff. There's too many, there's too much stuff to really focus on and like compact into one show. And I feel like it impacts the overall show as a whole. Like, I feel like the show would flow a lot better if they divided this more by genre and made this like a stronger thing. Like, I feel like this was a lot more R&B and hip hop focused, because I feel like, unfortunately, I think that's what black people, like a lot of black people in the industry, get their props for, unfortunately. But and I feel like it felt very disjointed, because you had that, but then you also were giving Usher, like an R&B star, his props, and like a lot of the performance and stuff who were performing for this tribute were pop and R&B girlies. So it's like, we need to get, like, I feel like there's too much going on here that is not flowing together. And I also feel like it's like they know this, and I also think the audience knows this, but there's the biggest the issue that comes with this is because like BET is the largest black award show that really happens every year or so, and that's because they're like the biggest. I think they're like the biggest network that black audiences tune into, that's catered towards a black audience, even though it's not owned by black people. It's owned by a white corporation, and they're actively trying to sell it off, not even to another black person, but to right now they're trying to sell it to like a consortium group. Like, they are not trying to pass it to us and give us control of that, because if you like look it up, I think they've just like they've announced that they're trying to like they're in talks to like spin the company or sell the company off to like a consortium group of people that's currently headed by the current person who the current person who like runs the BET group within Paramount. So, and like the value of that deal that they're trying to do right now is significantly less than what Tyler Perry and like Byron Allen and a bunch of other like black billionaires who probably shouldn't have control of it were trying to pay out for it. So it's very evident that Paramount is not trying to sell it to a black partner. They're just trying to sell it to another white group who can monetize and profit off of black people. And that's the issue. The show, even though it like celebrates black people, doesn't. There's a hint of like inauthenticity to it, because of the fact that it's white owned, and that at the end of the day, like, there's still white people moving these things around. So a lot of these issues can be hinged on the fact that like white people are having their hands on this. And there's like a few other black shows and stuff, like black award shows that are running stuff too. There's like the NAACP awards and like the TV1 awards, and Bounce has their own awards shows and stuff too. The Griot has their own shows and stuff too. But like general audiences who like watch these award shows don't really care beyond they really don't care beyond the BET awards, and that's like an issue that we kind of have to like rework and figure out. And then you have the conversation about like influencers and stuff too that popped up. Like, I know like circling back to the Keith Lee situation, like I know a lot of people were talking about like, oh, like maybe Taraji just did not know who Keith Lee was, and I do think that probably was the case of that situation too. Like, I feel like each year for the last couple of years, I remember doing this with my last recap of the BT, which I did podcast only back when I first started the Cake Radio show. I remember having conversations with people talking about how like, oh, like, why is Natalie Nunn and like the Baddies girls popping up and being invited to the BET Awards? Like, are they people have like conversations of like, oh, like, do these influencers, and now there's the conversation with Keith Lee and like Jordan the Stallion, like, do these TikTokers, do these influencers and stuff like that, do quote unquote deserve to be at the BET Awards? Should they be held to the same standard and regard as like these actors, these performers and artists and stuff like that? And I feel like that's a dilemma that like all award shows have been facing, because I know with the Oscars this year, there was a conversation of like, oh, like why are these TikTok, or like these influencers and stuff being invited to like interview and like hold or like present stuff at the Oscars and stuff like that. So I think this is an overall conversation that I feel like we need to have. And I also feel like part of this conversation is also because I feel like a lot of people who like bring these conversations up either don't know or don't like the influencers being invited. So I feel like if people like the Baddies girls like Natalie Nunn and stuff like that, and they weren't controversial figures because of the fact that like their show is literally just them like fighting each other all day, I feel like people would be fine with it. People wouldn't be dragging the Keith Lee situation or questioning if Keith Lee and Jordan the Stallion should be at the BET Awards if Keith Lee didn't, do the video with the flower. So like there's conversations like that. I feel like the jury's out on that. Like I feel like they should be there because they are, people who are successful and be like black people who are successful in being beloved and being recognized. But I don't think that they should have as much like I feel like they shouldn't be held to the same regard because like they're at the awards and they have some sort of presence because they're doing interviews and stuff on the red carpet, and or like with this Keith Lee situation, like they are actively being having appearances with like and interacting with the presenters and stuff like that. But I feel like they're not being rewarded. Like I feel like the influencers should have an impact if they're being rewarded as well. So I feel like the BET Awards should have some sort of like influencer awards or some sort of thing that like recognizes them as well if they want them to have some sort of major presence there. But that's just me, and that's my like thoughts on the BET Awards for this year and just in general. This is almost a 40-minute episode, but I had a lot to say and I had to give y'all something instead of skipping an episode this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the Cake Radio Show episode that I just gave y'all. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel where you get episodes first. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And, speaking of comment, be sure to comment like what y'all think about the show. Talk about anything that I missed or didn't really focus on with this episode. And, do you agree with me on my thoughts? Do you disagree? Why? Let's keep it civil, of course. And then additionally, like if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, I love y'all so much. Be sure to follow, turn on notifications on, and give the show a rating because it helps. And that has been it from me. I've been the CakeDive. This has been the Cake Radio Show, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.